Love it. All right, Mr. G himself, Tim, was in house today, and of course, he was just hovering on the defensive side of the practice here, Emilio. You can't run him off of that side. He said, I love watching Coach Covington work with this group, training camp 2025, go Pack Go. As you see here, Gary right there, you see LVN working with the teammate as well. I'm really, really excited to see what Coach Covington does, and he seems very hands-on. I mean, you see him going right down the line, working with everybody. We showed a clip on yesterday's show, Emilio, while you were out. That was Coach Covington working one-on-one with Rashawn Gary. No one else around, just him working with Gary. I think this is going to pay big dividends here with this defensive line. And here's what's awesome. You now got a guy with defensive coordinator experience, right? He was a DC for 1 year in New England. You've also got Derek Ansley, former defensive coordinator out in L.A., right? Jeff Hafley obviously is your defensive coordinator now. You've got all this DC experience on the entire staff. I mean, now we got Nathaniel Hackett back, and he's actually working with the defense, although he's doing it from an offensive-minded, coach's perspective. But I don't know, man. This is probably going to be one of those hires we look up in 3 to 5 years and go, thank God we got DeMarcus Covington.
Right. Absolutely. And look at the drill. I mean, he's not stuck in one spot. He literally started with Rashawn. Let's move down to the next one with LVN. Let's move down. And he's engaged. Absolutely, trying to make a difference in these players. And that's what we want to see. We want this D-line to take off. We need to get pressure with 4 this year. We need to be able to rely on that instead of always having to go that sim pressure look. I think that we can do it this year. I think he's going to kind of bring that mentality, that drive. And, let's see what that front can do. I think we've got a lot of skill there. It just really needs to show up for us.
Yeah. And then Tim got another shot here of the defensive line group working together. I try to get it here before we hear language. And you can see this is all about getting the hands up, right? The hands up drill. So you'll see them engage and then focus on batting those passes down. I'm telling you, man, it's little things like this that makes a real difference on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody just wants these defensive linemen to pin their ears back and just go after the quarterback, But we've seen last year, man, really staying gap sound. That's how you go to the second best run defense in the league in terms of yards per carry allowed. And then little things like this, taking away the throwing lanes. I know you've been playing college football this year, Emilio. I'm telling you, man, you got to start scouting those quarterbacks that are 6'3" and taller because they got that new feature in there that the throwing lanes matter.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been getting stuff.
Stop recruiting those 5'8" quarterbacks.
5'11" pure runners, Clay. That's all I have on the board. 4 stars.
I got statues back there, bro. My guys, they're slower than molasses before they can get through the throwing lanes.
No, I'm telling you that's a problem. You don't think about it. You just want to hit a little mesh concept. You just want to hit a little crosser over the middle, and it could be on your alignment being a little late. You don't get that punch to the stomach, but just a little bit of vertical, block that line, whatever. If you can't get there, get your hands up. That's always a rule. I love that we're working on it. I honestly haven't even really seen that, kind of drill before. I love that Tim got that on film because that's just, maybe one little thing that he could have added, a different drill, a different thought, a different process that can just benefit this team.
Yeah, and this is something that it's kind of Bill Belichickian.
Yeah,
I remember – I studied Belichick for a long time. Like after they won the 3rd or 4th Super Bowl, I'm like, okay, any kind of content that's about the Patriots, me as a Packers fan, I'm going to go and listen to it, watch it, because I want to pick up on what are they doing to be so dominant in the National Football League. One of the things that he is really, really known for, Bill Belichick, is the find the ball drill, right, for DBs. They would work on it at the end of every practice, would throw the ball up in coverage and allow the DBs had to have their back to the ball when the ball goes in the air, and then they had to turn and find the ball while it was in the air. And the reason they would do that is because they played a lot of man coverage. I'm just saying that's one thing. I'm sure every team practices that, but it was notorious on Bill Belichick's defenses that they would focus on that back to the ball, find the ball drill. And when I seen Coach Covington doing this hands-up drill on the sleds, it made me think, attention to detail, man. Attention to detail, and that's what comes from Bill Belichick style defenses and coaches here. But Jacob, I know we got you back, man. You looking clean now, looking smooth here, brother. You missed the best joke I dropped on you earlier, man.
I heard it.
Just the last 5 were the average of your last dates there. But Anyway, what do you think about this? It's pretty cool that Coach Covington got these guys out here working on hands up drills. Tim Tim finding the gems at practice, man.
Yeah, I think it's actually already showing that he's getting results, because if I'm not mistaken, in the last couple of practices, we saw defensive linemen tipping up balls and linebackers tipping balls and leading to interceptions. And I love it, man. I feel like Covington is a complete step in the opposite direction of the last coach that we had. And I think that was a little bit of a liability for sure. I know for sure the beginning half of the season, I was just really disappointed with the defensive line play, especially because we seem like, you guys know how much I love Brenton Cox Jr., how much I love Gary, how much I love LVN. But I really feel like we just did not get anywhere near their potential out of them last year. And it was a shame. And then all of a sudden towards the back end of the season, I don't know what they did, if they just said, all right, guys, go out and just, be yourselves kind of thing. They obviously performed way better. Ryan had a podcast where it showed about how great they were. They were actually very, very impressive. Some of them in the 18-17% pressure rate type stuff. Yep. So I have a very, very much, I'm very hopeful for this group, especially with the subtle additions that we made. We talked about yesterday with Brinson and Stackhouse. I mean, God, that's a big man that can move very quickly. I'm just very excited.
How about this name right here, as Wes Heikowitz tweeted out? Good rush from Sorrell on the weak side, and defensive front nearly forced a Malik Willis interception. Anderson couldn't bring it in. So pressure pick, coverage sack, Baron Sorrell now starting to get his name heard here on the practice field. That's a guy that it's like I'm such a stick in the mud, as Mandy refers to me as, but it's such a feel-good story from the draft that I'm trying not to buy into the hype. I keep reminding myself, Clayton, he's a fourth-round pick. He's a fourth-round pick. He's a fourth-round pick. But then I got to remind myself, Evan Williams was a fourth-round pick. Zach Tom was a fourth-round pick. Why am I, you know what I mean? Why am I curbing the enthusiasm? This dude could end up being a stud, man. And
absolutely,
these are the things you want to look for in the joint practices and the preseason game. You know how exciting it's going to be to see 99 out there rushing off the edge in a preseason game, dude?
Dude, awesome. and that those are the reps that we're going to get. That's when we're going to really be able to see him. How much are you actually going to see him, in season? We don't know that yet. You're going to kind of lean on playing time to the veterans at first. So let's see what he can do in the preseason game. That's when we're really going to get, a good breakdown of these guys. We'll probably end up, doing a little cut up or something of all their plays. I'm sure we'll get into something like that of the preseason, but I think that it's going to be good to kind of go back and look. All right, what did we get out of these draft picks? What are we going to get? What are they going to bring to this team? Starting from round 1 to round 7. So let's. I am really excited about what he can add to that D line. I think that we need to, like I said, take off with that front 4 this year.
Yeah, Coach Lynn says that's the second day in a row that Sorrell has flashed. Ron Sample says Sorrell's going to shine when the pads come on. Tony Holman in the chat says I'm pulling for Sorrell. I love what Ron said there. Sorrell's going to shine when the pads come on. Jacob, it does kind of feel like Sorrell's built for the pads. Some of these guys, like I'm eager to see Matthew Golden in pads and I think they're going full pad on Sunday. So we'll try to do a live stream during that practice. Maybe the back half of the practice so we can give you the guys the remaining updates as they come in type thing. That would be a lot of fun. But Jacob, what do you think about Sorrell, man? Again, he's already starting to make some waves here in training camp.
Yep, just like with UDFAs, just like with 7th rounders, just like with anything rookies that people don't expect to come in and make a big splash. I, for some reason, just have high hopes that he is going to come here. Like Tony said, he's pulling for Sorrell. Sorrell's got junk in the trunk. Chris, the casual end. What are you talking about there? I really do think too, like Jen Wright saying, he'll be the best 99 ever. I love the fact that he's rocking that number there. He just doesn't seem like much like we talked about with Golden, how the situation right now doesn't seem too much for him. I think Sorrell is kind of in that same vein where he's getting a lot of tutelage. He's getting a lot of people that are kind of guiding him in the right way, how to be a pro, how to do things your first season. If he can come in and contribute even just a little bit, I don't really think he's going to get the type of snaps that maybe, that he'd want to get maybe his first year, because he's got such a great rotation in front of him with guys like obviously Gary, LVN, Cox. But if he can even get maybe 15% of the snaps and make those 15% count, that's going to really, really step him into next year. And who knows if he makes the most out of those snaps and he really is flashing. I'm excited to watch him in the preseason completely. Like I really do think that if he does make a name for himself, that's just, think about if we've got a guy like that wrapped up for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And if he is, I mean, the emotions that he showed, like you said, it's hard for him not to be a fan favorite. The way that just the whole, it almost felt scripted. And I'm not saying it was.
It really did.
So it was so perfect that it almost like, I'm such a conspiracy nut that I'm like, what are you doing? But I felt completely in with Sorrell that day. So it reminded me very much. You guys remember when Rashawn Gary got drafted and he was just showing so much emotion? I mean, literally
like a baby,
bawling his eyes out. I got a lot of that vibe from him as well. And it just was, it's so cool to see a player really show that emotion and really truly show that they want to be there. I mean, you guys, we've made fun of the Bears, the Bengals. How many times you get drafted and you see the guy just look at the camera like, oh my God, you know, like they clearly don't want to go to that city.
Yep. It's
just awesome to see that he embraced it so much. And that's going to make the Packer faithful absolutely fall in love with this guy. So even if he takes a year or two, I don't think he's got to worry because the old G is going to have his back.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
This next one will get you excited, Jacob. Wes Hikowitz tweeted out, Bullard, who's been the nickel with the ones. I repeat, Bullard has been playing the star, slot, nickel position with the ones, which means Nate Hobbs is playing outside, right? So you got Nate Hobbs outside, Bullard in the slot, Keyshawn on the opposite side. It's early. It's really, really early. But it kind of feels like that's the three they're going to push. And you guys know how I feel about Carrington Valentine, right? I would rather play Carrington Valentine over Keyshawn Nixon, me personally. Now, I would not rather play Carrington Valentine over Javon Bullard, if that makes sense. They play two different positions. I got you. But when you go to the nickel, what I'm saying is I would much rather have Bullard as a second-round pick, and I felt like he played pretty darn well in the slot, not the safety position, but the slot position. What if he just, again, we talked about it last night, what if he just runs away with the slot spot and forces Nate Hobbs outside, and now it's going to become Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon battling for that opposite cornerback spot. It's easy to say, well, Keyshawn's a starter, guys. Keyshawn's only making like $6 million, and that's more than a seventh-round pick that is Carrington Valentine. I want to see Carrington on the field. I'm slowly starting to kind of drift towards maybe Keyshawn's the odd man out in terms of the starters, but we know injuries are going to happen. People are going to get banged up. But what do you think, Amelia? You're over at grinning. What are you grinning about? Do you like it, or what do you think?
Love to hear that my man's getting a little respect. I know that Jacob's still pulling for him. I love that. I know that you've been, just not mad at him, Clay, just vocal on where he's struggling. I appreciate it.
Nobody's listening anyway.
Exactly, because we're just hoping that he pulls through and gets a starting spot. But I do like that. I think that, you can kind of move them around, but we really did kind of leave that out as an option after, we've gone through the offseason. Is we always kind of put Keyshawn in there as a starter. He was always, number one or whatever. We don't know what could happen if he does, maybe he's in the battle with Carrington instead of Hobbs. But even listening to Hobbs, his interview there, he's totally fine with just being versatile for the team. Whatever you can do to help the team, perfect. If he's better outside for us, fine. If he needs to walk inside, cool. If we go some dime looks and we have 4 out there, then I'm excited with that 4. If Carrington gets out there with Key, Bull, and Hobbs, I like that. But we really kind of just need to see what's going to happen. Exciting to see that he's starting out early, though.
Yeah, so not only is he running with the ones, Jacob, but punch the ball out from Kraft on an underneath completion.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about that is that he's making my man Kraft look bad. So that's like Sophie's choice right there. Quit making him look bad. I will say real quick, too, like Amelia said, I would love it if Bullard, became that slot and took that role over and was absolutely just a staple there. And then we had to force, like you said, Hobbs and Valentine and Nixon to have that battle. I know Ryan, hearing that Bullard would be the starter, he's probably getting to the bathtub with the toaster. But I'm just thinking that, man, I honestly really like what I've seen out of Hobbs so far. And you could call it coach speak, but I really do think, like, they've talked about how he's a physical guy. He's a violent guy. He's an aggressive player. I don't know how long I've waited for another cornerback to be I want that, man. Remember like the days of Al Harris, Tramon Williams, Charles Woodson. Those were aggressive, violent corners that didn't just play patty cake with you. They went and they went physical. They went hands on.
Jacob, my childhood was that. I remember just having two dreads on the outside. I was like, dude, we are set. We are good to go, man.
I remember Mike McKenzie on one side for a short bit and Al Harris on the other until Mike McKenzie got too big for his britches.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when you said physical, Jacob, there's a player that came to mind for me, and there's going to be a lot of people in the chat, especially the younger fans, that don't know much about him other than he was an analyst for a while. I challenge you, when we get done tonight, go to YouTube and type in Rod Woodson highlights.
Oh,
you want to see a physical corner? Oh, my God, dude. Pittsburgh, the early years.
He couldn't do half that stuff he does now. Though.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But Rod Woodson was the man for sure, man. And yeah, it was just just an awesome dude, too. Awesome human being. But Matt Schneidman then tweeted out, Carrington Valentine's having an active first couple days. Already has 2 interceptions and just had a sideline pass breakup while smothering Matthew Golden. Throw was a little high from Malik Willis. Valentine let the rookie hear about it after. This is my guy. And people are going, Clayton, I remember 2 years ago when you were bashing this kid because he played like Dookie. I'm going to call it how it is. Last year, I mean, the dude played – he had the best passer rating when targeted on the entire team. That's why I'm like, all right, maybe Valentine puts Nixon on the bench.
Right.
Hobbs, Valentine, Bullard. You guys have the floor. What do you think about that? Go first, Emilio. What do you think about that?
I think it's a possibility. We didn't, like I said, we didn't really check on that. I'm excited, dude. Carrington was getting hot at the end of the season. Honestly, kind of whole season he was playing well. And he seems like a worker, kind of put your head down and grind mentality, just sort of like Matthew Golden. And I love that it's, sort of the young guns going against each other. Let's battle him. But Carrington's been here. He's young age-wise, but he's been tested. He's gotten a lot of reps in the NFL. That's game time that you can't pay for that, right? That's experience that he has. So that's absolutely huge. And I think that, he's going to kind of know how to carry himself, know how to attack this year. And like everybody else, they're just fighting for a spot. Right now we can speculate all we want on positions where everyone's going to go. At the end of this preseason, if Carrington has 15 interception and he's like, had a 0 passer rating the whole time, dude's going to find a spot on the field. You know what I mean? They're not going to stop him from getting out on the field if he is that elite. Yeah,
for sure. Jacob, what do you think about this for Carrington, man? Dude just always shows up, man.
Yeah, he does. And he's got he has that Jair-esque about him. He's very loud. He's very cocky. I like that to a certain point if you back it up. But you can't argue that sort of stuff. It's good. He's the type of player that can get in your head. He can put a little brain worm in there and start just messing with you over and over and over and get that jaw going. I like that quite a bit about him. And I like that he's not afraid to be physical. He's not afraid to, I can't remember what game it was where he made the interception in the end zone. And in my head, I'm like, oh, just go down. And then he breaks it and starts, I'm like, oh no, go down. And then, with the Baltimore coach who's like, go down, and go, Ed, go. That's kind of Carrington. Almost, he was like one broken tackle away from getting past the 20 and really breaking it out. But I think he's a fun player to watch. He's an ascending player, like Emilio said. He's went through experience now. You can't, like you said, you can't pay for that. You can't teach that. That's something that he's had to go through. He knows what it is to play through adversity, being a 7th round pick. He just really is that type of player that I think can stand in here. And I would love to, honestly, right now, if I had my druthers, I'd go Carrington on the outside, Hobbs on the other sade. Have my guy Bullard in the slot, Evan Williams, and X. I mean, look at that group right there. And then, if you have to bring somebody else in, go to a higher DB set, then, bring in Nixon because that's a great, backup there to have. And, hey, maybe my guy Bo Melton's somewhere behind there. But that's that would be my dream team right now. And obviously, like you said, injuries can change that. People that show peaks and training camp can change that. But I'm excited right now.
Yeah. And, it's funny you said that, too, because – we just talked about, Carrington Valentine. Well, we started with Javon Bullard running with the ones in the slot, right? All that. And then, of course, Carrington Valentine showing up already. Well, now we got Wes Hykowitz tweeting out. Keyshawn Nixon had a strong start to camp. Dobbs gets a step down the sidelines, but 25 closes to break it up. So, Keyshawn, listen, he's in the driver's seat in one of those starting outside corner spots. There's no two ways about that. I don't want to misconstrue here. But I think he's in the lead for one of those spots. But there's times how many times have we see Eric Stokes on the field? You know what I mean? Like they do a little bit of rotating there as well and kind of play the hot hand in that regard. So
and it's kind of crazy to think like we were talking about what would Ja be here. I mean, we're now discussing who's going to get the reps out of these three, right? So where would we be if Ja was still here and then trying to figure out those numbers? Obviously, wishing the best, but I kind of like where we're situated at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course our boy Tim had tweeted this out. Said defense wins another practice. He's fired up, man. And he's always on the defensive side of the field. I love it. It's like everybody else is hovering around the offense. Not Tim. He wants to be where the defense is. So obviously the defense wins again. Now, to me, I don't know what to make of this. You know what I mean? Like, does this mean the defense is way better than the offense? Not necessarily. We don't know what the script is. We don't know what they're working on. We don't know the approach, right? But it is awesome that the defense is showing up strong so far. Really excited to see some of this depth in preseason action.
I think defense is always kind of strong right at the beginning of those kind of things, Clay, or early season. Defense always kind of has that number. You're hoping that the offense can overcome, but that gets you excited that, hey, the defense can get us through the first few weeks if they keep playing, coming out this strong.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting to is like the way I remember it, and I could be misremembering it, is the defense seems like they always start a step ahead of the offense every training camp. I remember Aaron Rodgers throwing interceptions all through training camp.
Right.
And people were like, oh, is this the year that, Aaron drops off, this and that? No, that's training camp. You're testing stuff. That's when you make those mistakes. You see if you can make that throw. You see if you can hammer that base shot in a cover two. You see if you could throw that 23-yard out route you were talking about earlier, right?